been in this room since I left in 2010, and it about makes me sick at my stomach to be back up here. No offense. Just kidding. Anyway, welcome. Do what, Jerome? Does you every Thursday? Yeah, thank you all for coming. It's an extreme honor for me actually to be standing here again. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dave Bennett, and I am the chair of the chamber. I also have the honor of being the CEO at Cherokee Millwright. So, little business advertisement here. If you need heavy metal needs, see me after the meeting. But I got to pay for this. Anyway, it is my honor to introduce our mayor, and I want to tell you, from the business community and from my perspective, I am very, very happy with what's happening in this community. We have, amen. We have some terrific leadership. And what I would tell you is if you have time when you get done, if you've not voted, go downstairs and vote. Because it's our responsibility, and we need to make sure that we keep the leadership of this community going forward, or we will look back in 10 years and say what happened. So you don't want to hear me talk. I'm going to turn this over to the mayor and let him give you an update on the county. Mayor Mitchell is getting ready to start his second term. I voted for you, Mayor, and I know there's not a write-in, so congratulations on your election. So without further ado, Mayor Ed Mitchell.
Thank you, Dave. First of all, I want to welcome everybody here today, and thank you very much for coming. I appreciate this support, and I appreciate your interest in what is happening in Blount County. Because as Dave said, there's a lot of great things that are happening in this county every day, and we have such a blessing to be able to say this is our home. But but a lot of the things that happen wouldn't happen without a reason, and that's the leadership that we have in Blount County. And the first thing I want to do is ask the elected officials if they would please stand. I see Scott, I see the sheriff, I see Phyllis, I see Tim, I see Tom. Yeah. Okay. You know, we've also got the Commissioner Jerome Moons here. Do I have any other commissioners? Mike Kaler, good to see you, Mike. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. But I do appreciate everybody for being here. It means a lot. If this is the first time you've ever been in this room right here, this commission room, then shame on you, because everything that happens in this county, the resolutions and the laws and the hub of everything that's going on in Blount County is happening right here. The decisions are being made by these 21 people here. This is the legislative branch of the government, and as you know, that's where laws are made. One thing that I always ask groups when they come in here, usually it's the elementary school or the middle school young people with their teachers, but there'll always be about 20 teachers and parents with them. And when I speak to them, I always ask, now, does everybody know who your commissioner is? And out of 20, there might be one or two raise their hand. And I'll say, well, do you know which district you live in? And there again, one or two may raise their hand. And I think that's just that's a sad thing that we have so much apathy and so much unawareness of what actually is going on in a government that has total control of everything that's going on really on your day-to-day out here at the local level. I mean, we can all be upset about what's happening in Washington, and we can be upset or agree with what's happening in Nashville. But the area that we have the most control over is right here in this courthouse. This is the local government. This is where it affects you the most every day. And it's kind of upsetting that we don't have more people involved. You know, we have 75,000 registered voters. We get excited if 12,000 show up to vote. And really the thing, and I won't go on this issue much. It's just kind of a pet peeve of mine and kind of close to my heart, because every day when I come to work, I walk by those monuments down there, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of local people that are on those monuments that died so that we could have the freedoms that we have to be here today and meet like this and say what we're saying and do what we're doing. And every one of those people down there died for that right. but yet we get excited if we have 14% of the people show up to vote for the leadership of maintaining this freedom that we have. And I won't say any more about that. I know Amy usually has to start doing this whenever I get onto that. But first thing, we're going to go right to the 14-15 budget. We balanced this budget this year with no tax increase. Contrary to what you may have heard, we are not taxing and spending at a radical rate. We maintain the 215 tax rate. We did move 2 pennies to general fund. 1 cent came from schools and 1 cent came from the debt service. One of the things that I think is really important is, if you'll look right here, this year's adopted budget is less than last year's adopted. We've actually went down in our adopted budget. So the tax and spend, the overload of raising taxes and spending, right? I mean, it's black and white. It's obvious. We have been very frugal and very restrictive on how we've spent, and that's because of all the elected officials. All the elected officials and the commission has had a priority not to increase the taxes. And as you can see, the adopted budget this year is less than last year's budget. The way that breaks down is general county gets 66 cents, schools gets $1.07, and debt service gets 42 cents. On our revenue allocations, our sales tax splits, it goes between the highways and the schools. The highway gets about $2,553,000. Schools gets $11,275,000. And because of the dollar split in education, it's about a 60-40 split. For every dollar we spend in Blount County schools, 40% of that actually goes to the Maryland-Alcoa school system. So in the sales tax option, we actually gave $6,946,000 to the Maryland-Alcoa school system. Cable franchise fees, we moved about $450,000 that we had gave Bill Dunlap 2 years ago, and the reason we did that was because Bill's budget in the highway department it runs in cycles. As the weather has so much of an effect on how his budget needs are, and to try to keep from having to do the moving the money around in the cycles, we actually had gave him about $690,000 to where he would not have to ask for money during the year for salt and asphalt and things like that. And he has been very, very frugal and been very, very good with his budget, and we were able this year to go to him and pull about $450,000 back, but we did leave him $240,000, so we were able to put more money back into the general fund. Population. Our population estimates from 2000 to 2013, we went from 106,000 to 125,000. We're actually showing significant growth this year. If the numbers are right, and I was looking at them, we're actually going to be close to about 1,500 or 1,600 growth in our population for this coming year. But this is an 18% growth in our population, and this is a significant rise in population. And the only thing I can figure out is people want to live here, for obvious reasons. So it must not be nearly as bad as we hear, because we do have a real growth in our population coming in here. Our unemployment rate, when this was done in 2013, was 6.5%. There was only 4 counties with a lower unemployment rate than us. Actually, in the last 6 months, it's been down to 5.2%. And in June it went back up to 6.2%. So we've actually been down into the ones that are lower than us, and actually had a lower unemployment rate than that. But that's amazing. You know, our unemployment rate has just been phenomenally low compared to what you see nationwide, because it's and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we We have been very blessed, and we've worked very well together on bringing in companies and jobs, and we just kicked off, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 160 jobs at K-12, and 160 more coming in October. So, you know, I look for that to that 6.5 or 6.2% to be reduced by the fall. Our statistics, our housing values in 95 counties. There's 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. Our housing values are the 7th highest at $164,600. Our median household income is 14th highest at $46,347, and our poverty rate is the 5th lowest at 12.7%. And all of these things show a very, very healthy economy, in Blount County. Building permits, if you look at, and I don't know whether you can see this or not, but if you look from 2008 to 2013, we have actually increased the number of building permits that we're issuing. Us in Sevier County, and Sevier County is not nearly as aggressive as we are in this, as we are the only 2 counties that have actually shown since the recession, and everyone else has sort of seen the downturn. Us in Sevier County are the 2 counties that have actually shown growth in building and permits. And I know that when talking with the people at Development Services, they've been really covered up for the last 3 or 4 months. I've actually had to put some part-time people down there to help them get caught up, because we have really been inundated with permits and new construction. Property tax. If you'll look at our tax rate in 2006 was $2.43. Today we're at $2.15, which is a 28-cent decrease in your county property tax rate. Of course, this goes totally against, the fable out there that we have just absolutely taxed people to death. We've actually cut the taxes, or the commission and those people that have gone before us have also been very good leaders, and as you can see, we've cut the tax from $2.43 to $2.15, which is a 28-cent decrease. This is due to growth in property values. This is due to growth in our industry expansion with the IDB, growth in commercial expansion, due to our partnerships and our relationships that we have. And I think Dave Bennett said it best in the article he put, it's our secret sauce. I mean, that's the reason that we're able to do this and to bring the economy to where it's at, because we all work together very well. Maryville, Alcoa, Blount County, all of us. I mean, even in the business world, we have this sense of partnership and this sense of working together in Blount County, and that's the reason we're able to do what we do. And I'll throw a plug in, since Greg's here, that if you'll notice, Maryville's reduced theirs by 10 cents and Alcoa by 24 cents since 2006, and I think that's pretty darn amazing if you want to know the truth about it, because we're one of the few areas that's been able to do that. If you go over to here, the 31 counties, there's 31 counties that have a lower property tax rate than Blount County, and 21 of those counties have a wheel tax, which is about 68%. If you look at the wheel tax, if to generate that much more money for us, we would be looking at a $1 million additional revenue, and that we would have to put as property tax, but we haven't had to do that. Our debt summary, if you'll look at the debt, it started out at about $214 million. We went to $227 when they built Prospect School. We've been chiseling away at that as much as we can. We have absolutely applied as much to the debt as we can apply to the debt to get it paid down. It's as much a problem and as much an issue to me as it is to every one of those commissioners, as it is to every one of the elected officials. We don't like this any more than anyone else, but there's a common sense approach and a reality approach that you have to pay this off. And that's what we're doing now. And as you can see, next year we'll have it down to about $199 million. And we keep hearing this payoff, get rid of this variable rate, get rid of this synthetic fixed. But they don't put into the equation the fact that you're going to pay penalties and you're going to pay fees to to swap from those variable rates and those synthetic fixed to the fixed rate. And that comes to adding about $16 million more to our debt. To do that, we're going to have to pay $16 million in penalties and add that to our debt. And I think that it's shown very good leadership by our commission and that they have not seen fit to do that, because they don't want any more debt any more than any of us do, any more than you do or I do. But as you can see, it is going down. Most of our debt, over 90% of that debt is schools. So if you look at the fact that we do the split dollars, so that every time we've borrowed $10 million, we've had to borrow an extra $4 million to pay the split dollars. But if you took the split dollars out of that and the 40% that the Maryland-Alcoa schools get, that debt right there where you're at right now would only be $124 million. But the fact that we have to split the dollars is the reason that it looks so excessive. But that's the law. I mean, go to capital. Currently, we are working on a capital plan. We presented a capital plan to the commission on April the 7th in a work session. We're improving a lot of our processes. That's been a really big challenge that we've all worked on, all the elected officials. We have really been working on improving a lot of the processes in our departments. But with that capital, the capital that we're working on, you also have to talk about our assets. With that $206 million debt, there's considerable assets that this county has that are in relationship to that. We've got 21 schools. We've got the courthouse. We've got Everett High School. We've got the Justice Center and jail. We've got the Drug Task Force. We've got the library. We've got the Operations Center, Blount Memorial, Animal Center, Sheriff's Training Facility, Health Department, the annex over here for soil conservation. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, we have so many fixed assets to show for that debt that the coalition it really looks pretty good, even with that much debt. We have been very, very aggressive in working on a lot of technology upgrades throughout the whole county with the other elected officials, with the county clerk, with the Register of Deeds, the trustee's office, circuit court clerk, payroll and human resource program system that we're putting in place, and it's ongoing. I know that Tom and Phyllis have got their systems, their upgrades in place, and everything that we're doing is to try to become more efficient, to try to be able to provide a better service to the customer, to our citizens, who we work for, and to do it with more efficiency. And I really feel like we've been very successful at doing that. Every one of them have improved their technology through updated software. And the good thing about this is we pay for this technology because there's a fee that's attached to each one of whenever they have to charge a fee. There is a part of that fee that goes into a technology fund. So it actually is not using it's not using property taxes to upgrade this technology. It's actually using the taxes off the fees that that each one of these departments charges whenever for their services to the public, which I think works out great. The county departments, we've got. I'm just going to go over and give a real quick synopsis of each one of the departments. County clerk Roy Crawford, who has just introduced and implemented a new system. It's more or less for security reasons because of the little stamps were getting stolen off of the license plates. So they put it together now to where the license plate and the stamp go together, and they had to put in a machine that, I guess it's a sort of what you call a security decal tag machine, and what it does is make that tag and that decal go together where they can't be separated. What that process does is takes a 1.5 minute process, that's how much it takes to do what they're doing now, and turns it into a 30-second process and makes it more secure. In 2010, Roy's office did 150,000 tag renewals. In 2014, they did 211,000 tag renewals, and that's because most of the rental cars and the rental companies are using Blount County to register their cars because we don't have a wheel tax, and because they get very good service when they come here, and they're able to do that. That's the reason if you go to Orlando or Dallas or some of these other cities and you go rent a car, it's got a Blount County tag on it. So, and that may be the reason the population's growing. I guess they think everybody they see is from Blount County. So, you know, and Roy is working on automating his services and increasing his efficiency. The property assessor's office, Tim has been maintaining records and evaluations on over 67,000 parcels. We have settled a 12 years worth of appeals with Alcoa Inc. That has been settled, and one of the big hits we got was when the dams went from being a public to where they were non-taxed to being private, all the way up from Chota and Santila, and all those dams up through there were all non-taxed. And now that the new company out of Brookfield, they are a taxable entity, so that does help us on the tax road. One thing I want to say also, the county clerk's office is self-funded. They fund themselves. They bring in more money than what it takes to operate that office. Property assessor's office does the same thing. They bring in more money than it takes to operate that office. The highway department, Bill's paving projects are in District 7 and 8 this summer. He's already paved 3 miles of roads just since July 1. He's been able to double the amount of operations, and he's had a 38% reduction in his staff. Bill has went from 78 employees to 49 employees. And he's actually been able to do that and still maintain the services that he does. And I don't, you know, Bill's budget's around $6 million. And I mean, if you think about what his responsibilities are with the bridges, with the roads, with the mowing, with everything else that goes on, I think it's amazing that he's able to do that with and maintain this county in the shape that it's in with the kind of money that he does it for. Our Register of Deeds, Phyllis, you know, there's no one anywhere that is any more customer friendly than Phyllis Chris. Let me tell you what, if there's no one up there that she can talk to and welcome to the courthouse, she'll come down to the mayor's office and welcome to the courthouse. But I'm telling you, it's hard to come into the courthouse and walk through this courthouse for any business and not have interaction with Phyllis, because she is she is customer friendly and people friendly whenever they come in here, and I'm sure that you all know what I'm talking about. She also she collects revenues through her documents records on every parcel of property that's bought and sold, from large corporate properties to smaller residential properties. And once again, the Register of Deeds office is self-funded. They pay for their way. They bring in more than they spend. Circuit Court Clerk, this Tom Hatcher's office, this is also a fee office that's funded with no property tax money. He's implemented third-party collection services that are bringing in additional revenue from prior cases where the defendants have failed to pay. He estimates $100,000 in additional revenue this first year and $2 million in revenue over time, which is pretty good, I think, that we were able to bring that money back to Blount County. Tommy's also upgraded his technology. He's been in the process. We've been doing that for the last 2 years. Some of the things that he's done is upgrades due to his Microsoft no longer supporting his Windows XP. And once again, all the upgrades that were done in the circuit court clerk's office were done with the technology funding that we raised through fees. It was not, none of this was done with taxpayer dollars. The sheriff, of course, we all know how great a job they do. I mean, where else can you live in a county of this population and feel this safe? I mean, they do a great job. They work very hard to make sure that we feel good about getting out with our families and going to eat or going to the movies or going and doing everything. We never worry about security. We never worry about our safety because we don't have to, because they do, and they do a great job of it. And I think that's just one of those many departments that we take for granted, that it's there and it's always going to be there. But there's a lot of people and a lot of things that go into making that work. It doesn't just happen. You don't just have a county across the river that you turn on the TV and they're having shootings every two or three shootings a day, and cross the river and we have the safety and the environment that we're in here now. That doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of work and a lot of people working for the same goals. One of the things that probably we've not been aware of, there's 22 SROs in our county schools, and we were doing that in Blount County. We had SROs in schools before people were putting SROs in schools. I mean, we were so far ahead of the curve on that and that's something that most people don't know. One of the things that I think has been really great at the Sheriff's Department is how many volunteers that he has out here working in this community. There's over 100 volunteers, and the programs that he has from the senior outreach. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but I'm telling you what, that's amazing how many of our senior citizens that those people go out and interact with every day and make their lives better. We have the Citizens Academy, and our chaplain program is very successful. All of this is done with volunteers. This is not paid staff. One thing that I think the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's been able to do that's just like with the rest of how we do business in Blount County is the interaction. I mean, his interaction with Maryville, his interaction with Alcoa Police, his interaction with the surrounding counties. I mean, that's what makes it work. You can't be. We're not an island. We're a part of a bigger picture, and I think the Sheriff's Department works very well at forming partnerships with other agencies and working very well, and that works to help us to be what we are today and to be as safe as we are. Trustee's office, Scott, he collects and accounts for the revenue used to operate county government and supervises the cash flow. I think he should get credit for being the one that collects your taxes. Scott. His is also a fee office that's designed by state law to generate its own fees to pay for its own budget. I mean, that's the state requires that what Scott brings in and what Scott spends, he has to generate the fees to do that. So there again, that's another office that self-sustains itself, which he is also one of the things that, and it's amazing to me that he's been able to do this. His workload has increased almost 50% in the last 20 years, while the number of full-time employees has stayed the same, and he's actually reduced his part-time employees. So he's been able to maintain for 20 years with the increases the same amount of employees and actually reduced his part-time employees, which I think is a tremendous feat. Our school system, I know that Rob's not here, but Dr. McNally's here. You all know, we all are proud of the school systems in this county, all of them. We have great schools. We have great education. I don't think sometimes they get the just due that they deserve, because there seems to be so much negative out there. Instead of talking about the positives, we always seem to try to pick out some of the negatives. And I think that the fact that in 2012, Blount County was designated an exemplary school system. It's earned the designation of Advanced Placement Honor Row for expanding its enrollment in AP courses and offering and maintaining or advancing students' average scores of AP tests. This is one that I'm really pretty excited about. The graduation rate in 2009 was 86.2%. In 2013, we reached our goal of 91.4%, which is great, and we do still remain above the state average in our graduation. We do operate at $400 per student below the state average per pupil, but we're producing above average results in every area of Blount County schools. In some of the other departments, our library, KC's here. If you haven't had a chance to meet KC Williams, get a chance to talk to her, but she's absolutely doing a great job. The 13-14 per capita cost for Blount County residents to operate the library was $15.71. They provide face-to-face services to an average of 7,770 residents and visitors each week. They provide internet and technical access to 20,000 residents each month. They have 26 juvenile programs each month, and they provide 21 adult programs each month. And the only reason that's all I have here is because I told her I had so many minutes to talk, because I could have had pages of stuff that are going on at that Blount County Library every day. I mean, it is a tremendous resource for this county, and the job that KC does and her staff does is amazing. If you haven't had a chance to go over there and use it, if you don't have a library card, I'll just tell you, she will bring you a library card. All you got to do is let her know you don't have one. And I think I think everybody should have a library card. Veterans, of course, with Nathan. Nathan, are you here? Is Nathan here? I think he had something going on today. He had called me and told me he probably wouldn't be here. But Nathan Weinbaum, if you haven't had a chance to meet Nathan, he's the gem. I mean, he has really came into to Blount County and made things so much better for our veterans. And it's amazing how many times in a week I have a veteran come by my office and say, thank you for having Nathan Weinbaum here, and thank you for everything that Blount County does for its veterans. And I know we've got some members of the veterans committee. I mean, Jerome, you're chair of the committee. Ed Shore's chair of the committee. But the job that they do has been amazing. To give you an example, there's been 1,900 veterans that are helped each month. That's how many visit that office each month in Blount County. There's been $37.4 million paid to veterans by the federal government last year, $7.2 million more than the previous year. That's Blount County veterans. So that's $37.4 million that's been given to those veterans and put back into the economy of Blount County. Nathan and his staff have taken on the role of collecting food. They see so many of the veterans that come in, bless you. So many of the veterans that come in are talking about not having food, living borderline homeless, and Nathan and his staff have started collecting food, and they do distribute food to veterans that are unable to buy food, which I think is a sad state that we have veterans out there that aren't able to feed themselves. But so far in 2014, 2 veterans have received their high school diploma. Nathan was very instrumental in making that happen. One has received a Purple Heart, and they held their first PTSD awareness walk and had 2 cookouts for the veterans this year. So if you ever run into Nathan, thank him. He's very quiet and unassuming, but he is very aggressive on helping the veterans, and that's something that we can't forget is our veterans. The health department, Mickey's here. Mickey Roberts, who's our director of our health department. They serve 3,000 people each month at the health department, and that's a lot of people coming through, because that's not people coming through and just asking questions. That's people coming through with issues that are having to be addressed, and that's 3,000 people. They keep 6,000 patients from going to the ER each year by being able to provide some services down there to keep the patients from having to go to the ER to be treated. So I think I know Don appreciates that, don't you, Don? We're ranked 4th in the healthiest counties in Tennessee, which is great, and we can get excited about it. The only problem is Tennessee is one of the unhealthiest states in America. So I don't know whether it's good, but it isn't. Under the umbrella of the mayor's department, when I first came in here, I wanted these departments to be ran as customer friendly, customer service, but I want them to be managed and ran based on public needs, what I thought people need. The finance department, our accounting and finance, of course, all of you know Randy Vineyard, and he's, I'll just tell you, a lot of the things that are happening here in Blount County, and a lot of the good things that are happening here in our accounting and finances are absolutely directed to him. And he has been a blessing to Blount County. He's been a blessing to me and my office, and the employees will tell you the same thing. He's sort of like, in a lot of ways, the way I am. We maybe demand a lot, but we appreciate it a lot too, and we understand good things happening, and he works very hard to make that happen. And he has implemented some of the technology and some of the things that we've upgraded. He has been the reasons a lot of this has happened. And right now we're in the process of this new payroll system and HR software that we're looking at is an estimated savings if we get this implemented at $3.5 million over the next 5 years. We're moving towards electronic payments. We refinanced $79 million in bonds in December of 2013, which has provided an overall savings to the county. I've always said, since I've been the mayor, this building looks a whole lot different when you're driving down Court Street than it does when you're walking the halls. There's a heck of a lot going on in this building. There's a whole lot of people working in this building and working hard every day. There's the idea that because you're in a government facility that it's just business as usual and everybody's taking breaks. I'm gonna just tell you that ain't happening. It ain't happening. Not in this building, and I know it's not happening in the Justice Center. There's a lot of hard work going on. A lot of hard work going on in our department and in county. Probation. Joni Surratt is Director of Probation. She's running at about 180 to 200 miles an hour, trying to get a lot of things implemented in that department. One of the new things that we're being faced with is this Amelia's Law, and I know if you've seen the television, you've heard the comments and the trials and tribulations that we're going to be faced with that. But Joni has really done a great job of taking that department and really turning it around. They've got around 2,000 people on probation. That's 2,000 people that they have to see every month on probation. Right now, she's working on getting the electronic monitoring program up to speed. It's in place. It's working. It's a slow process to get it up to speed, to get it working. Eventually that will help some on the jail overcrowding population, but it is going to be a slow process to make that happen. But she has been very instrumental in doing that. She is also self-sustaining. They generate enough revenue that the probation does not use property tax money. They generate enough revenue that goes back into general fund to fund themselves. And she's going to end up with about $100,000 in revenue to put back into general fund above what it takes for her to run her office, and that's pretty amazing. Each one of those probation officers, if you can imagine this, see about 350 probationers, 350 to 400 probationers a month. I mean, that's the kind of workload they have. Plus, they have to be in court monitoring some of the probationers as they go through court. So I'm going to tell you what, that is a fast-paced, hard-working job, and Joni and her staff do a great service to it. The Animal Center, if you haven't had a chance to go out and see the Animal Center, it is absolutely a state-of-the-art facility. We have a surgery center that's probably as good as the University of Tennessee Veterinarian Hospital. They built it and modeled it after that surgery center. We have a vet on staff that works, 5 days a week, does surgery, takes care of issues that arise out there. There's not many animal centers that have their own veterinarian on staff. Charlie Rafford is Charlie here? Okay. But Charlie has done an absolutely wonderful job of taking that facility and really turning it around. If you haven't had a chance to go out by there, you ought to go out by there. And if you get a chance to adopt an animal, we're always glad to see one go out the door. He has used a true partnership and joint effort with most of the work done out there is done by volunteers, or we use the trustees that the Sheriff's Department gives us. A lot of donors. We have a lot of donors that come in out there and put money back into it. They're animal lovers. They love to fund it and have done a great job. Of course, SMAC-F has been the big leader in funding out there. They've funded probably 90% of all that construction in that building out there. So but it actually, they funded it, but it came back and belongs to the county. So that's the way you like it, We processed over 3,000 animals last year. We had a 91.6% adoption rate of cats and a 96.7% adoption rate of dogs, which is unheard of across the state. Those are very good numbers. I'm going to go ahead and close out so I can take some questions, and I know I haven't covered every single department, and I hope I haven't left anybody out. But I hope I've given you more of an in-depth look of what's going on in Blount County, and give you an in-depth look of what our employees do and what our elected officials do. Because everyone here, there's no one that's not working for what's best for Blount County. There's no one that's in this for any other reason than to do what's best for Blount County. And I think that's what makes this one of the most beautiful places in the world to live. I think that we have become a community that's apathetic, and we've taken a lot of things for granted that we have in this county. I hope we can turn that around and everybody become a little more involved and have a little more appreciation of what we have. I think that it's an insult to our past leadership and the people that worked so hard to bring us to this point that we have become so apathetic. And there was a lot of people and there's a lot of people in this room that were a part of what, over the last 20 or 30 years, that have been a part of what makes this county so great. And they've worked very hard. And, they've served this county. And I think it's terrible that we're letting ourselves become so apathetic and so taken for granted that we're not all up there serving and doing the work that needs to be done to make sure that this county stays as beautiful and as great as it is. The core things that have driven us in the past and present will hopefully drive us in the future. One of the things that does make us work is our partnership. The partnership we have with the counties and the cities, the partnerships we have with the chamber, with the IDB, the partnerships we have with the hospital, the partnerships we have with with organizations in this county. I mean, it's amazing. There's not a rub. I mean, we don't have a rub anywhere. I don't know of any rub. There's no time or place that organizations or leadership in this county can walk in a room and the room get tense, because we all get along, because we all care and we all love this county. At this time, I'm going to end it and say that if you have anything that you take from this presentation. I would hope that you would get involved. If you're involved, stay involved. Bring people with you. You know, this is our county. This is the county that a lot of us were born and raised in. We've grown up here. We love it. It's, you know, I tell everybody, this is when they say God's country, this is God's country. And that's the reason you still see the church in our seal. And, you know, but do what has to be done and stand up, and let's take this county and let's take it back and turn it and keep it the way we want it. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll take questions now. Do you have any questions? When you talk that much, you pretty much get to somebody's question sooner or later. But any questions? Oh, yes.
Just as a fly guy, I want to thank you for your leadership and cooperation that you've brought and maintained with your office. Appreciate everything. You're keeping us on the straight path here with Commissioner Moon here. We appreciate both of y'all very much.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that very much. Yes, sir, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, not a question, a comment. I too want to thank you and all these department heads out here, the sheriff and all the departments and their employees for making this the greatest place I've ever lived in my life. And I have lived in 6 different states, even though I started to school in Allen with. I couldn't wait to get back to good old Blount.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And I just want to say, Jim, welcome back. We're glad to have you back here, too. I just want you to know that. Is there any other questions? Anything else?
Yeah, I'll ask one.
Go ahead, Trev.
You gave some great insight from where we are today, looking back. If you put yourself in a position of doing this briefing again in 4 years or 6 years, what are the major differences that you think we did?
One of the things that we really, or I guess if there's one thing that we've really going to have to stress in the next 4 years is our technology upgrades. We're still running on an AS400 1988 computer program. That's the system we're running on in Blount County. We've got to upgrade. I know it's a slow process and it's an expensive process, but we have got to get some upgrades. Not just, you know, the elected officials have done a great job of upgrading within their departments, but we need an overall technology upgrade. I think, you know, if that's the priority I have as far as the county government function itself. One of the biggest challenges I think we have is getting people involved. You know, I tell people when the elementary schools and the middle schools, and now I'm trying to go out and talk to the high schools. You know, when I have 20 people in here that are teachers and parents and business people in this community that don't know what district they live in or who their commissioner is, I mean, we have got to get people aware of what's going on in this county and get them involved in the future of it. And I tell them, I said, well, y'all just stay in, you know, usually when I'm talking to the kids, I say, you adults just stay in the back, and if you want to listen, you can. If y'all want to go outside and get a cup of coffee, you can. I'm talking to the young people because I guess they're the future. You know, because they listen, and whenever they send back letters about talking to the mayor, the one thing that all of them always usually have to say is, he told us we need to be involved in our community. We need to know how our communities ran. We need to know. So it's registering with some people. I don't know if it's registering with everyone, but in 4 years, I hope that there's been a lot more people touched and a lot more people involved in what's going on in this county. That's one of the things I'd like to see, Trev. Yeah, Jerome.
The next 4 years, you have the authority to call a charter commission. And I think that might be one thing that would get a lot of people to raise their awareness of what's going on in county government, what county government does. Do you plan, or have you given any thought or consideration on the charter commission?
Yes. Yes, I have thought about that. That is something we do need to look at, because if you're going to call for a charter form of government, you need to be able to call for the charter form of government that the government wants. It needs to be a charter form of government that works. It doesn't need to be just a charter form of government that's thrown out there that's haphazardly put together. It needs to be very well thought through, and we need to sit down with the commission, and we need to work with the community, because the community has a big input. It has great input on what you do in a charter form of government. Is a charter form of government better than a constitutional form of government? It's probably more efficient and more effective. It probably is, and I think that is one of the things that we're looking at. And as you know, we've talked about that. Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate the turnout. Thank you.
Let me, before we close, maybe elaborate a little more. Where do you want this county to be in 4 years or 8 years? It's our choice. And if we don't do something, it's not going to be where we want it to be. You know, there's a lot of rhetoric going on in this community, in this country, about all the bad things. So if we don't stand up, the mayor's not going to have the opportunity to do it, the sheriff, all of the elected officials. So we better stand up and do something. So what I ask you to do is get 10 people involved, and let's take this community where we want it to be for our children and grandchildren. I thank the elected officials. You know, a lot of people say I'm biased. I am biased because I love this community, and I think they do a really, really great job. And they don't get enough credit. When you talk about law enforcement, when you talk about the health department, when you talk about the library, when you talk about our schools, when you talk about all of the great things going on, number one, it's because we had leaders that came before us that had a vision. So we need to have a vision. You know, we live by one of the rules of Cherokee Millwright, that if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. So we need to start aiming, and let's do it together. So, Mayor, again, thank you for the briefing. Thank you for coming. It's nice to be in this room again and hear positive things. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.